Baseball is back and Sorare MLB is starting to catch fire. With Soto and J-Rod as the newly announced ambassadors, this season is gonna be insane. In this video, I'll complete my common card draft, which is how you get started on the super fun and free to play side of the game. After that, we'll look at all the updates and everything you need to know going into the 2023 season. Whether you're a beginner or pro, this video will be relevant. Remember, there's no deadline to sign up, so if you're seeing this after opening day, it's all good. You can sign up anytime and use the link down in the description of this video to get started. That link will always be the best promo deal available by Sorare. And also down there, you can find my complete 2023 beginner's guide, along with my other socials and the free Discord where you can hang out during the week and ask any questions that you have. All right, let's go. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Eric, and in just a second, we'll dive in full screen and get into the content. But before we do that, I want to invite you to our weekly live streams every Sunday at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern time here in the US. It's a 1-hour baseball show covering everything in the MLB from last week's slate to the upcoming slate, DFS, player props, of course, Candy Digital, and Sorare MLB, which we'll be talking about today. I'll also put out videos like this to help you along the season. I am super excited for this one because I haven't drafted my common card lineup yet, and I'll be doing that live right here. Help me out by hitting that subscribe button, liking the video, and dropping a comment down below. I want to know what's the best common card that you drafted. Who's the player you're most excited about on your squad going into the season? I'll also be doing giveaways throughout the season, so make sure to follow along for that. Those will be for subscribers of the channel. All right, let's zoom in. Shout out to Sorare MLB for absolutely crushing it with their partnerships. Julio Rodriguez, Juan Soto, two of the youngest and brightest stars in the MLB. You know them well, and they are decked out completely in Sorare swag as their ambassadors of the game, posting about it on their own Twitters. Just amazing to see that come out this week. This right here is where it all begins. I'll get into the contest and talk about some of the prize selections, strategy on which ones you want to get into later on. But like I said, the first place to get started is the draft of your common card set. This is a new addition, a new style coming from season 1 into season 2. Everybody's starting off on the same foot, whether you start today, whether you start halfway through the season. There's going to be opportunities to trade out cards and keep a solid collection. A lot of strategy involved, but it all begins with the draft. So I'm excited to do it right now. I'm going to hit get started right up here at this top banner and see what we got. It prompts you right here. You're going to select a 10-player squad with the 120-point budget. Everybody who sees these are assigned the same amount of points and the same players. So again, like I said, you're going to go in, you're going to draft. It's going to show you what cost there is. And once you select your team, you can always redraft your team leading up to opening day of the season. I'm going to hit draft. Now, here are my options. You're looking at these right here. Remember, 120 for all 10 is what you're going to get. So the average per position is going to be 12. Let's take a look through it real quick here. DeGrom at 20, Scherzer, Shohei, all at 20. Those are the most expensive pitchers. If you toggle right here, then it'll show you the position eligibility. So you're looking at pitchers right now because you're selecting a pitcher. If you move over down here to relief pitcher, which is the second position, then you go to relief pitcher. Again, I have a full beginner's guide on how the roster is constructed. If you want to check that out, it's in the description of the video. The link to that is down there. It'll also be popping up somewhere on this video. So just check out my Sorare MLB playlist. All right, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take a little bit of time to myself. I'll kind of try and cut this up so you see just my final roster and who I decide to go with. The first step of my process is I'm going to go through all of these. I'm going to take some time and just find out where I find value in general. So, right, whether it's a bat, whether it's a starting pitcher, relief pitcher, I'm going to look for the value, maybe try to pick some value picks and then go for my top dog based on what I see in value. First thing to know, these are going to expire at the end of the season, guys. So don't worry about having this be collectible. These are just the common cards. The other cards, the ones that you pay for, those never expire. So as long as that player is in the league, you'll be able to use them. For the common cards, you're thinking short term. You're thinking just this year. So make sure you're making the right choices for this upcoming season. Good morning. Fam, that took a lot longer than I thought it would. So I geeked out last night on some spreadsheets. I'm recording back in the morning here. Let's dive back in. Take a look at what I came up with for my free draft on that roster. I'll break down my process for you also. All right, here are the pitchers, some of the guys that I had in mind. And if you scroll down, you can see this lineup that I made too, but that thing is not the one that I ended up with. I'm going to kind of take you through the process a little bit here. Because some of the guys that I liked for pitcher. Of course, you got to like DeGrom. And, I did this with spreadsheets too. So my handy dandy spreadsheet, you guys have seen that before. I geeked out with some other projection spreadsheets. I was on Fantasy Pros. For those of you looking for another outside source, I use Fantasy Pros a lot. And then, of course, RotoChamp for roster projection. So with all of that, I'm just going to name off a bunch of pitchers that I liked at their value. Of course, I like DeGrom, Scherzer, Shohei, 3 top dogs there. Garrett Cole, Burns, Cease, Framber, McClanahan, Nola, Javier Wheeler, Gosman, Strider, Kirby, Green, Detmers, Peralta, Springs, Suarez, Gore, Brown, May, and Flaherty. All guys that I kind of considered, a couple of them even more in here that I considered at their value points. So we'll get back to that later. All of my starting pitchers I selected. 2 of them were lower end. One of them was a stud. Then my relief pitcher, I liked a bunch of guys too. This one was pretty tough because of the way that it's scored. So again, for the scoring, you're going to want to go to my beginners video for that. But some of the guys that I liked at this value for closers were, I actually heavily considered Emmanuel Clase. I think at 18 right here, compared to the rest of the field, he is far and above those type of guys. But what I ended up doing is having to budget something differently in this final lineup that I'll show you. Guys that I liked here most: Clase, Duvall, Batista, Iglesias. As I went even further into some lower cap guys, Jason Adam was one, Pete Fairbanks. I liked Hector Neris down here at 14. Ottavino, I also did consider with Edwin Diaz being out. Boxberger and Stanek at 12 were a consideration. Vesia in there at 11. And that's about as far down the list as I personally went for relievers. Corner infielders, this is where the big bats are. Guys that I had down on my initial list to go after: Freddie Freeman, Ohtani, Ramirez, an absolute stud, a guy that I have limited and a guy that I'm planning to lean on in the limited competition. Okay. One of my things was like, if I already have him in limited, maybe I'll take a different strategy on the common. Just kind of go about it in a different way so I can spread out the love a little bit. That's what I ended up doing. You'll see in just a second. But I like Alonso at 19, Bregman, Riley, Olsen, Arenado, Vladdy, all at 18. One of these guys is going to make my roster as a cornerstone type of guy. Big numbers from the corner bats. Chapman I liked at 15. Rendon is a nice little risk that you could take. There's Chapman right there. Urias at 14, not too bad. Vinny Pasquantino I really like at 14 also. I know that's going to be a popular pick. Gunnar Henderson in there at 13. Tristan Casas at 11 down here. Almost had to go that route for my Boston Red Sox buddies. Did not end up going that way. And then I also liked the old captain of my Giants, Brandon Belt, in here right at 8. Thought that was pretty good value down at 8. We'll see. Moving through, cruising through, I'm just going to do high level, let you know who I like in each one, and then I will dive into my final one. In the middle infield, this I thought was the toughest out of all of them, okay? For the point value that you're getting, you're really having to spend a lot of money for not as much point value, in my personal opinion, when I really dive into the numbers on Sorare, how it's scored, what their stat lines are going to be. This is where I struggled the most. You'll see where I ended up. I'm pretty happy with where I ended up. But guys that I love in here, Francisco Lindor is probably, top 5 of my favorite players in all of the MLB. Definitely considered him. Of course, Trey Turner, absolutely insane. World Baseball Classic. Bo Bichette, love him. Bobby Witt Jr., love him. Corey Seager, love him. I'm a big Willie Adames guy too. He was on my fantasy team last year, but don't like it at that 19 compared to guys up here like Trey Turner, Bo Bichette at just 1 point higher. Even Seager I like at 19 too. Scrolling down here, it gets real kind of thin, man. I like a lot of these guys, but at the price point that you're paying for them, again, I thought that middle infield was the hardest for me to select personally. Let me know what the hardest for you to select was down there in the comments. Ozzy Albies, I see some value here at 16. Wander Franco at 16 also. Ketel Marte and MJ Melendez I like at 15. Contreras, I think, is going to have a nice year. But then the bats kind of start to dwindle a little bit here. I liked Arias up there. Don't think there's enough power. Bryson Stott at 13, maybe. Really tough for me when it comes to middle infield here. That was a tough decision. Took me a while. Lastly, some firepower in the outfield. Aaron Judge. How can you not consider the AL home run king as part of the roster, man? He's going to put up numbers as the captain in New York. Mookie Betts, of course, has a ton of stat value. Yordan Alvarez, one of my favorite players in the game, one of the best pure hitters in the game as well. J-Rod, Trout, and then Soto down there at 18, Schwarber, Tucker, Acuna, all at 18 points. This was a really tough decision too. Again, guys, we're getting closer to revealing my final lineup, but I'm just wanting to let you know a couple guys that I do like. Dalton Varsho in here at 16 was a nice one. Randy Arozarena at 17. Eloy Jimenez, Cedric Mullins, guys that could have big years. Teoscar. Brian Reynolds even at 16. Not going to be a big Pirates guy this year, but hey, Reynolds puts up stats for sure. He's a hitter. Chris Bryant could be a candidate for a bounce back year who I really like. Scrolling down. Lars Nootbaar at 14. Not really for me. Corbin Carroll, nice. 13, I think is pretty solid. My guy, Mike Yastrzemski, maybe he could have a 13 capper of a year, but didn't end up going that route. Marcell Ozuna's got some power in a powerful Braves lineup. Trey Mancini here at 11, I do like as well, going into Chicago. And two guys at low caps. You're going to need some guys with low caps on this team because you're going to want superstars too. So two of the guys that a lot of people have been picking out there I completely agree with their value down here. Well, not with their value, but with drafting them at their value. 5 points for Masataka Yoshida and Michael Conforto. These two guys right here. Conforto coming back off a injury year. Hopefully he can bounce back for my G's. And then Masataka Yoshida, we saw him go crazy in the World Baseball Classic. All right, let's reveal my real lineup now. For starting pitcher, let's scroll down here to Spencer Strider at 15. I considered Ohtani, but hey, 15 points, I saved 5. I considered Ohtani because he can go into the pitcher slot, also into the extra hitter or corner infield slot, but wanted to max out my lineup in a different type of way. Spencer Strider was my guy. And then I did a couple of cheaper guys, good value, high risk, though, in my opinion, high injury risk. Chris Sale, Dustin May, relief pitcher. My guy Strider with the start, and we'll go up here to his teammate, Raisel Iglesias, as the relief pitcher. Like I said, it was so hard for me to not pick Emmanuel Clase with an 18-point cap compared to all these guys. I think he's high and above the best closer in the game. Really tempted and tried to get him into that lineup. Corner infielder. This is where it gets interesting, and 2 words can sum up this rest of the lineup here. Blue Jays. I went with Vladdy Daddy. Vlad Guerrero Jr., 18 points in there in the corner infield. When I had my free play last year in the 2022 season, Vladdy was my number 1 pick too. So hopefully he's got a big year coming. Additionally, found value all the way at the bottom here. Brandon Belt, former Giant, current Blue Jay, in the roster on the daily. Let's go to middle infield. Looking real nice right next to Vladdy with that flow. Bo Bichette is my middle infielder, hoping for a big year from the Blue Jays, obvious as it seems. Once you see the rest of my lineup here, you're going to be like, this bro is all in. You better hope the Blue Jays do good. But alongside Bo Bichette, like I said, middle infield was the hardest one for me to pick because of the point values for what they're actually costing here. I went with the cheaper one, a rookie, Bryce Terang on the Milwaukee Brewers. For the outfield, this one was about finding some value for me as well. Two guys that I really, really liked. Initially, when I slated this thing in, I wanted Ronald Acuna Jr. in there so badly. Did not end up going that route. Really liked Chris Bryant for a bounce back candidate in there at 16. But when it's all said and done, to fit the point cap, I go with my guy, Dalton Varsho, high upside, new landscape going up to Canada from the desert in Arizona. And speaking of Arizona, let's scroll down here and get Corbin Carroll as my kind of utility guy. I could see this guy starting in my roster, kind of breaking up this Blue Jays thing that I got going here. Corbin Carroll, one of the fastest players in the MLB, also hits bombs. We got Corbin Carroll in there for 13 points. Give me that all day. Let's go. All right, let's hit submit down here. See what it looks like. Here we go. Might as well. I'm going to snippet this thing. I'm going to share it with my buddies. And you know what? Like I said, you can always redraft this before the season starts. So don't worry about locking anything in. If you want to go back in later, if there's a major injury, hopefully not. But you can redraft before the season starts and should be before you play your first tournament. So let me know what you got down in the comment section of this. Better yet, pop into the Discord, send us a screenshot of it. We love seeing that type of stuff and talking about rosters in there. All right, let's hit play ball here. Get into a couple of different things. So this is what you're going to do. So if you want to redraft the squad, take a look at it right here. If you want to register this competition for the Common All-Star, that will come up in a second. But you're going to want to go to play, go to this upcoming tab right here. You got minors, Common All-Star. You're able to register in these minors. You got 6,300 people. Common All-Star, you got 100 people. Those competitions have specific eligibility. So to find that, I went over this in the beginner video. I'll also go over this on the weekly walk-off show. We'll talk about which one of these competitions are most worthy of going after based on your collection. I'm going to break down the entire prize structure. We're going to monitor this number specifically, the participants versus the number of rewards. That's going to be what percentage of participants are actually yielding rewards. That's going to go heavily into what competition strategy that you want to enter based on whether or not you're going only commons, limiteds, rares, whatever it may be. So it's not a one size fits all thing. It could make sense to go into different competitions for different people. Tune in to the Sunday show, the weekly walk-off, or watch the recording of it after, because that's going to be a main part of that show this upcoming Sunday leading into the baseball season. But just as an example here, just click the info and it'll show you all the rules and the details, what the prize pool is. Common cards only allowed in this one. It says here that once you win a limited card, which is coming in the top 200, then you graduate from the minors, but you can start in the majors. You can start anywhere you want, really is the point of it here. So I'll give you guys a little bit of a teaser when it comes to Sunday. One of the things that I'm going to be talking about is what I'd like to shoot for is shooting for a tier 3 at the minimum. From what I've found in NBA, the tier 5 cards aren't always as liquid. Sometimes, to be honest, it's just a crapshoot when it comes to earning those, getting actual profit from them on the marketplace. And they're not always the most useful. Sometimes they are in a roster. They could be useful on a low cap situation in the NBA, but for baseball, I'm looking at it in a different way. So I'm really aiming for those tier 3 guys that I'm going to get use out of, or that I'm able to sell for a good amount of profit. Like I said, make sure to tune in to the weekly walk-off. It's a baseball podcast, so we'll be live here on YouTube on this channel. The first part of it, we'll talk about baseball in general. The second part of it, we'll talk about some fantasy baseball. Of course, there's a full So Rare segment on that. And also, I'll be putting out videos like this kind of throughout the season as long as it's something that you guys want to continue seeing. So, all right, let's go to the blog. Let's go to a couple of updates that we have seen since the last episode. And it is the key info for the 2023 season. Just a couple of quick things of note. I will let you get into this yourself. I'm not going to cover it for too long, but highlights here. All of the common cards from last year will expire. Okay. We're using the common cards for this year, the ones that we just drafted as part of our collection. There's going to be a cap of 15 of them. So it's going to stay fair for everybody. You're able to swap out cards on a daily basis if you don't like your guys anymore, if they get hurt. If you want to go after somebody else, you can hit swap. That will happen once the season starts. So it's not available quite yet because you can redraft. They've added new competitions, limited AL, NL only competitions. Again, this stuff we'll cover on the weekly walk-off. Scoring changes, this is important to you. So a relief appearance now is getting 5 points for just a relief appearance. That makes relievers a little bit more on an even playing field. Caught stealing is a -1 point. Different rules in the MLB, different pickoff rules, bigger bases. A lot of people think that there's going to be a lot more stealing this year. So better watch out if you get caught. That's a -1 to the score. And the breakdown, of course, of all the competitions that came here. We covered that on the weekly walk-off last time. Another big thing is that the Sorare mobile app is now available for MLB. Go ahead and check it out. Refresh the app if you can't see it on there. But in the top left corner of that app, you should be able to see a drop-down menu for MLB, NBA, and football. All right, there you have it. Thank you for watching and thank you for subscribing to the channel. I cannot wait for opening day on March 30th. Make sure to join us every Sunday, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern time here on this channel for the weekly walk-off with myself, Greg, and Nate, my co-hosts. We're excited to see you there. I'll also be putting out content like this throughout the season just to kind of help you along the way. Make sure you're joining the free Discord so that you can get access to myself and the rest of the community who's eager and willing to help you out with any questions that you might have throughout the season. I'll see you on the next video soon.